The battle over Varela Prime had ended in a silence that screamed louder than the cannons ever had. The sky, once full of starships clawing at each other with energy fire, now lay bruised and empty, its clouds choked with smoke. The smell of ionized air and burnt metal lingered, mixed with the heavier scent of alien blood, coppery, sharp, and strange. Corporal Mason Red trudged through the ruins of the outer defense grid, his armor dented and streaked with soot. His motion scanner flickered in and out. The interference from the crashed Xerian battleship nearby was frying every signal. He should have turned back. Command's last order was clear. All surviving personnel, regroup at LZ-9 for extraction. But Mason's gut told him not to. Too many signals had vanished too fast, and one of them, the faint blip he'd seen moments before the system died, hadn't been human. He moved cautiously among the twisted hulls, rifle raised, eyes scanning for movement. The ground was slick with melted alloy and something thicker. When he rounded a scorched fragment of what used to be a dropship, he froze. There she was. The alien lay half-propped against a slab of debris, her once crimson armor shattered and blackened. 4 arms, or what was left of them, twitched faintly as she tried to drag herself forward. Her lower body ended in a mangled ruin just above where her species' second-jointed legs should have been. Mason had seen Xerians before, tall, fierce, terrifying in combat, but never like this. Her breathing came in wet, ragged gasps. One luminous eye flicked open, its golden iris locking onto him. Even injured, it carried the same predatory focus that had made her kind infamous. But there was something else. Confusion, maybe even fear. "Stay back, human," she rasped in thickly accented standard. "I will not be a trophy for your kind." Abreu Mason lowered his rifle slightly. "I'm not here for trophies," he said. "I'm here for survivors." Abreu the alien, her insignia marked her as a Cathera, an elite warrior caste, bared her fangs. "You mean prisoners?" "Fee." He shook his head. "No. Just survivors." For a long moment, they stared at each other, 2 enemies surrounded by the corpses of their respective armies. Then a distant rumble echoed across the valley. The extraction shuttles were lifting off. Mason's visor flashed a warning. Evac window, 4 minutes. He could still make it if he ran. He could leave her here like the dozens of others, but his feet didn't move. Instead, he crouched beside her, inspecting the damage. "Your legs are gone," he said quietly, "and you're losing blood fast." Her mandibles clicked in something like bitter amusement. Observation noted. "Ofski!" He opened his med kit. "Hold still." She tried to push him away with the strength she didn't have. "I told you, Ibrashi, you want to die?" he interrupted sharply. "Because that's what'll happen in the next 10 minutes. Or you can shut up and let me help." Her eyes narrowed, but she stopped resisting. Mason worked quickly, applying coagulant foam to the stumps, sealing the wounds as best he could. He had no idea if human medicine would even work on her physiology, but it was that or nothing. "You're insane," she muttered weakly. "Probably." Abreu, the timer in his visor, hit 2 minutes. Mason checked the horizon. No chance of calling for a medevac now. The smoke was too thick, the comms too dead. He'd have to carry her. He slid his arms under her upper torso. She was heavy, denser than a human, her armor like stone, but adrenaline lent him strength. She hissed in pain as he lifted her, one of her hands gripping his shoulder instinctively. "Don't touch me," she growled, but her claws didn't release. He started walking, slow and steady. Each step sank into the ash-covered mud. Behind him, the battlefield stretched endless and silent, a graveyard of ambition. "Why?" she asked after a while, voice fading. "Why would you help an enemy?" "Because," Mason said between breaths, "you're not my enemy anymore. You're just someone who's bleeding out." She let out a low sound that might have been laughter or a death rattle. "Your kind killed thousands of mine. And yours killed thousands of mine," he replied flatly. "Doesn't change what's in front of me." The shuttle's engines roared faintly in the distance, then cut off. The last one was gone. Mason stopped, staring at the empty sky. "Well," he muttered, "looks like it's just us now." Ibrukithera tilted her head weakly. "You missed your exfil." "Yeah," he said, forcing a smile. "Guess I did." He found shelter in the remains of a half-collapsed bunker. Inside, the air was thick but breathable. He laid her down carefully against a wall, removing what remained of her helmet. Beneath it, her features were almost delicate. Angular, smooth, faintly luminescent markings tracing along her temples. Beautiful, in a way that made him uncomfortable to admit. "You'll need fluids," he said, rummaging through his kit. "I've got saline, might not match your chemistry, but—" "Abruhi enough," she said softly. "You cannot save me, human. Not with your little pouch of miracles." Mason ignored her, connecting a line and sliding the needle into the least damaged of her veins. "Watch me." Hours passed. The night deepened. Outside, distant explosions marked where orbital bombardments continued far beyond the horizon. The war wasn't over, just moved elsewhere. When she woke again, it was to the sound of rain tapping against metal. Mason sat near the bunker's entrance, rifle across his knees, staring into the dark. "You stayed," she said. "He didn't turn, yeah. Why?" He hesitated, then said quietly, "Because I couldn't live with myself if I didn't." She studied him for a long time.
"Among my people, weakness is punished. Pity is shameful. Then call it stubbornness," Mason said. "I'm good at that."
Thebri, she laughed again, though it came out more like a cough. "You are strange, human. Abrahua name's Mason." "Abracathera," she said after a pause. "Well, Cathera, looks like we're stuck together until rescue shows up. Might as well make the best of it." "Abraki rescue?" she said dryly. "No one comes for the defeated. Ibra." He looked at her, really looked, and realized she might be right. The Federation would call this area a write-off. Contaminated, hostile, not worth the fuel. And her people, they'd purge it from orbit, rather than risk survivors falling into enemy hands. Still, he refused to give up. Days bled into each other. Mason scrounged rations, filtered water through charred debris, reinforced the bunker. Cathera's wounds began to seal, though infection hovered constantly. Her strength returned in fragments. She could sit up, move her upper limbs. He built crude braces for her, fashioned from broken exo-armor plates, though they could never replace her lost legs. In the evenings, when the rain fell hard enough to drown the sound of distant warfare, they talked. She told him about the Zirian Code, the Vailta, an oath of eternal combat and honor. Her people believed that dying in battle preserved the soul's integrity. Survival through defeat was considered worse than death. "So you're saying you'd rather have me left you there?" Mason asked. "Yes," she said simply. "At least before I met you." He smirked. "Glad I ruined that for you." "You did." Brooke. Weeks later, a Federation drone finally passed overhead. Mason fired a flare, but it ignored him. The battlefield had been designated a no-recovery zone. Their distress beacons were jammed by orbital interference. Cathera watched him silently as he kicked the dirt in frustration. "They have abandoned you," she said. He didn't answer. She tilted her head. "You saved me. I owe you a life debt." "That's not how it works," he said. "It is for me," she insisted. "Among my kind, debt must be balanced." "Well," he said with a tired grin, "you can repay me by not dying." In time, the planet began to heal. Just a little. The storms cleared, and patches of sun burned through the haze. Mason managed to get the emergency transmitter working, though power was limited. Every day, he tried a signal. Every night, he got silence in return. He started teaching Cathera bits of human language nuance, idioms, sarcasm, jokes. She didn't always understand, but she tried. In return, she taught him Zirian battle sign, the silent hand language used by her warriors. They practiced together, laughing when he fumbled gestures that changed honor into rotting slug. Somewhere in the middle of all that waiting, something shifted between them. Not romance, not exactly, but a recognition, a shared understanding that the war, for all its flags and creeds, meant nothing compared to the fragile spark of compassion that had kept them both alive. Then, one morning, Mason woke to the sound of engines. Low, heavy, approaching. He scrambled outside and saw it, a Zirian gunship, sleek and obsidian, sweeping low over the valley. His heart pounded. Cathera's eyes widened when she saw the symbol on its hull. "They came for me?" "Looks that way," he said, helping her to the entrance. The ship landed, and armored figures emerged. One, clearly an officer, strode forward, massive, imposing. He looked down at Mason, then at Cathera. "You live," the officer said in their guttural tongue. "I do," she replied. The officer's gaze hardened. "You were defeated. You should have died." Cathera straightened, using Mason's shoulder for balance. "I should have," she said, "but I was spared. By him." The officer's mandibles clicked in disgust. "A human. He saved my life," Cathera said firmly. "He showed honor where there should have been none. If you kill him, then you kill the meaning of what we claim to be." For a long moment, no one spoke. The rain pattered softly on the wreckage. Then the officer turned to Mason. "Go, human. Leave this world." Abraham Mason hesitated. "And her? She will come with us. She is reclaimed." Athera's hand tightened briefly on his arm. Their eyes met, soldier to soldier, survivor to survivor. "Goodbye, Mason Red," she said. "May your kind learn what I have, and may yours never forget it," he replied. He watched as they lifted her onto the ship. For a moment, he thought he saw her glance back, her golden eyes bright against the shadow. Then the gunship rose and vanished into the clouds, leaving him alone once more. When rescue finally came for him weeks later, the officer who debriefed him didn't believe the story. Said no Xerian warrior would ever spare a human, let alone owe them anything. Mason didn't argue. But sometimes, late at night, when he stared out at the stars, he swore he could feel someone watching back. A presence fierce, proud, and alive. And in that silence between worlds, he smiled. Because somewhere out there, a warrior who had lost everything still carried a debt born not of war, but of mercy. And that, Mason thought, was worth every battle ever fought